In this episode of Akram's Ideas, I'm sharing with you my Dolphin Skirt collection, so stay tuned! Hello and welcome. I'm Akram Tagavi-Birth, and you're watching Akram's Ideas, bringing creative and crazy ideas to life. In this episode of Akram's Ideas, I'm sharing with you my 1 week, 1 pattern roundup. To see more episodes like this, be sure to click the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to get notified of new videos. Which basically was a challenge to wear one pattern for 1 week, and you could have multiple variations of this pattern. You could wear the same garment refashioned in different ways, but I chose to actually wear my large collection of Dolphin Skirts. So the Dolphin Skirt is a pattern from the Tilly Whalen's Love at First Stitch book. The Dolphin Skirt is one of my all-time favorite skirt patterns. It's easy to construct. It's a total of about 3 pattern pieces plus the waistband pieces. So it's super quick make. It's got a classic A-line style to it, and it just is really a really lovely skirt that is so versatile. You can make it in certain fabrics like a denim and make it more playful and everyday versus making it more in a linen or a heavier weight wool that you could wear to the office. So like I said, I have a relatively extensive collection of Dolphin Skirts now, which in the end totaled out to be exactly 7 skirts, which was perfect for the 1 week, 1 pattern challenge. With that said, I'm actually going to go down the list in the order that I wore the Dolphin Skirts for the challenge this year, and just talk my way through each of the skirts, their construction, what they're made out of, and any alterations that I've made to them. So the first Dolphin skirt that I wore for this year's challenge is my plum colored skirt here. This is made out of a heavier weight fabric. It's got like a texture to it. It's a really lovely fabric. It's perfect weight for this time of year. I only had enough of this fabric that I knew when I got it that I was going to make a Dolphin skirt. I made this 2 years ago, I believe. And with many of my Dolphin skirts, I found that I don't turn the hem really on the skirts. I find that the skirt as cut on the pattern is a perfect length. So if I am going to do a hem, I either just do some hem facing or I extend the length of the skirt. So on this skirt, I believe I cut it to whatever lengths I had on the fabric, which was a good I think a 1 1/4 inch extra than what the pattern piece was. And then I just folded over 5/8 of the inch twice and top stitched for the hem. This particular skirt as well, since I knew I was making it for winter because of the heavier weight, and while it's a really lovely fabric, I thought that maybe I wanted it to be lined just so that the heavier weight fabric wouldn't rub against my tights and static cling all day. So this particular skirt is lined with a maroon cotton quilting fabric. The back of it has an invisible zip, which also matches with the lovely plum color, which was great. The other little changes that I made to this particular version of the skirt was I did add pockets to the skirt, which I'm so happy about because I love a skirt with pockets. And I also added belt loops to the skirt. From the very beginning, I knew that adding belt loops would make the skirt more versatile as I lose weight. So this was a skirt, like I said, I made 2 years ago, and it has been one of my most worn because of its color, because of its texture and everything. It's very office appropriate, and I wear it a lot during the winter paired with sweaters and cardigans to the office. The next Delphine that I wore for this year's challenge is this lovely brown linen one. I actually made this one the same time that I made the plum colored one, so about 2 years ago now. This one is again made out of a brown linen that I had in my stash. It is a relatively thin linen, so obviously I wanted to line it. I've just lined it here with some brown cotton that I had. Again, I did the same thing. I did belt loops on here. I did pockets on here. I did the same thing where I made sure that I had enough that I could do the 1 1/4 inch turnover. The only main difference on this one is that I did a lap zipper because I did not have a invisible zipper on hand that matched this, and I have a ton of regular zippers, so I just did a lapped zipper on the back there, and it worked out really, really well. I believe I paired this with one of my pink sweaters this year. Brown and pink, I think, is just a classic mixing together, and it looks really good. This is another one that I wear often to the office with a cardigan, and it's just a very classic, clean look. So one of my earlier Dolphin skirts is this lovely corduroy version. This is like a baby cord that I had in this beautiful navy. I think this one has a smaller hem on it just to accommodate the length. It is a little bit shorter than some of the other ones. I used the hack that Tilly shows in the book, just the same in the navy with the button placement. It gives it a very 1960s nautical look to the skirt, and I find it very playful. I wear it a lot during summertime. I managed to pair it with one of my big chunky red sweaters. Even though to me this skirt comes across very nautical, it didn't come across very costumey or anything, and it paired well with the red sweater that I wore it with. So I'm very happy that I was able to get wear out of this and wear it to the office. On the Thursday of the 1 week, 1 pattern challenge, I wore my pink denim skirt, which is like the very first skirt. Actually, this is the very second Delphine skirt that I made, and I made it out of this beautiful pink denim. Now this one, I will say, is a little short. It was so short that I couldn't even fold over the hem on this. I mean, this cuts right at the pattern lengths, so I actually used some pink hem facing for it. I did not add pockets simply because I didn't think about it at the time and I was trying to go by the pattern, and so I did not add pockets to it. I did add the belt loops. There are instructions on that in the book on how to do that. I paired it with a brown sweater. Again, this isn't something that I thought I could really get away with at the office at first thought because it's denim and, well, it's pink denim. I think it went over really, really well. So I actually might start wearing this more to the office because I feel like I don't get a lot of chances to wear this unless it's on the weekend. So Friday's Dolphin skirt is actually the one that I'm wearing right now, which is actually my most recent Dolphin skirt and one of my oldest skirts at the exact same time. So this particular skirt I had pulled out several weeks ago when I was digging through my closet trying to figure out what I was going to wear, and I was having some rough spots because I have clothes in my closet that still are too small for me and clothes in my closet that are just now too big for me. And this was one of the skirts that I came across and found it to be too big for me. This was originally a half circle skirt, I want to say. It was one that I sort of self-drafted as I was just learning to sew. So this was probably from 2013, I would say. And there were a lot of mistakes on this skirt. Primarily the mistakes were that it is a woolen skirt and I did not line it. It itches like crazy. So that was part of the problem. The seams were not done cleanly enough for my liking. I just zigzagged them and I didn't get really on the edge, so some of the seams had been starting to unravel. And then more importantly, the zipper was atrocious. I did a lap zipper. It was, or was it a lap? No, it was an invisible zipper, but it wasn't invisible by any means. It was just an awful zipper insertion because it was one of my earlier zipper makes. And so it just did not work. It was too big, it was itchy, and the zipper was awful. So I started looking at it and I was like, you know what? I want to be able to wear this skirt. I love this color. I love the plaid and the purple and the teal, and I love wearing it with this like teal ready to wear sweater that I've had in my wardrobe forever. I also have a purple sweater just like this that I usually wear with this plaid as well, but I just wasn't getting enough wear out of it. So I looked at the skirt and said, you know what, I could probably cut a Delphine out of this and get way more wear out of it and address the issues with the fit and everything. And also when I did that, I made sure that I kept the original hem, so it may look a little weird since I just kept the circular hem on it, and I just laid the pattern pieces just above the hem, so I had that little extra length so it'd be a little bit below my knee versus right at my knee. The other thing is that the original skirt did have pockets, so I was able to salvage the pockets, salvage the hem, laid the Delphine pattern pieces on top of it, recut it all out, and this time I did, yes, I did line this skirt this time, which is great. But unfortunately, while I did line the skirt, I kept the original waistband and just recut it, and the original waistband was double-sided on the wool. So the waistband I can't have against my skin because it does itch, so I'm actually wearing this with a little tank underneath simply so that the waistband doesn't rub against me because it is incredibly itchy. But despite that, it's a very warm skirt because of the wool. It's not a heavy weighted wool, it's a relatively thin wool, but it is very nice and lovely. But overall, I'm really happy, and this is my latest edition of the Delphine skirt. So unfortunately on Friday I was very busy. I did not really get a picture of me in this outfit, but again you get to see it here in the video since I loved it so much. And Saturday I was also pretty busy running errands and things like that I didn't get to show you a picture of my yellow Delphine, but of course you may have already seen this. I actually made this yellow Delphine this summer. I made it along with the Mimi blouse and kind of paired it up as sort of a modern day Snow White cosplay, which I adore and love so much. This particular skirt, I wish I had cut it maybe a little bit longer, but it still works. I did line it. It is made in this lovely yellow linen. It's a very thin linen, but you know, paired with a pair of tights, it worked out really well wearing it Saturday. It wasn't too horribly cold. I did pair it with sort of a lime green, apple green turtleneck sweater that I have, so it paired nicely. It looked very springtime for the middle of November at the time when we were doing the 1 week 1 pattern, but I didn't care. I was happy in my little yellow Delphine. This is again same construction as always. I did the belt loops. Like I said, I lined it with a yellow cotton. I used a lap zipper on this one again simply because I have a lot of zippers and not as many invisible zips. The only thing that I regret on this yellow one is that I was so excited and so eager to whip this up this summer because I wanted it to match my Mimi blouse. I forgot to add pockets. And it's just kicking me still that I forgot to add pockets. But other than that, this is one of my favorite Delphine skirts, and I do get a lot of wear out of this one in the summertime. Alright, last but certainly not least is this denim blue Delphine skirt, which is actually like my very first Delphine skirt. So I made this Delphine skirt and the pink denim Delphine skirt about the same time. So I think it was 2014, 2015 is when I made these. And I just, on a whim, one Saturday, Sunday morning, I got into my fabric stash and I said, you know what, I want to make a denim skirt. I've got the Love at First Stitch book. There's the Delphine in there. I hadn't made it yet. And I pulled out the blue denim and the pink denim. But as I was cutting the blue denim, I realized I didn't have enough blue denim for the skirt. I had enough for the body of the skirt, except I didn't have enough for the fold on the front of the skirt, and I did not have enough for the waistband, and I also didn't really have enough for the length of where I wanted it to fall, which was right at my knee, which is at the bottom of the pattern piece, and this came out a little bit shorter than that even. So I did some of my very first hacking. In fact, I think this is one of my very first hack projects that I was like, how can I make this work? So the first thing, obviously, is while I couldn't get it on the fold because of just the weird pieces of fabric that I had, I just added a front seam to the front of it and was able to sew that up, I think. Yeah, I sewed it up at the 5/8 inch seam. So that one came out really, really well. I went through my fabric stash and I found this lovely little blue cotton that had these little white flowers and hearts. It was very country style fabric, and I only had little scraps of it. It came in one of the bundles of fabrics that I often buy. So I had enough that I could make the waistband, the inside of the waistband and the outside of the waistband. I had enough that I could add trim all the way around the bottom of the skirt just to enhance the length of it. And I had a little bit more that I decided to go with a little heart patch pocket. And actually that was my husband's suggestion. He's like, oh, why don't you make a little patch pocket on the front of it to accent the waistband and the hem, because it just kind of looked kind of random that I had the different parts. So I added that in there. This was one of my very first invisible zip insertions, and again, Tilly's instructions inside the Love at First Stitch book are so great. I did an excellent job, I think, for my very first invisible zip. The other thing, which is one of the rare occasions, is I did basically the Hong Kong seams on this skirt, which if I turn it inside out here, you can see that I actually made sort of a fake bias binding out of the blue cotton, and I encased all the seam allowances that way, and I believe that's called like a Hong Kong seam. And I was just kind of playing with it. This is one of the rare times where I had the whole day, I didn't have any real projects on the list. I just wanted to sew and I wanted to experiment, and this was one of those times. And I feel like sometimes with all the sewing challenges and all the plans, I don't have a lot of those times where I was like, oh, let's just see what I can do. But this was, like I said, one of my early makes, and I had the opportunity, and I think I did a lot of nice things with this particular skirt, a lot of nice hacks, learned a lot of new techniques with the invisible zipper and the Hong Kong seams. This is the skirt that I wore on the last day of the challenge. For Sunday, I wore it around the house. We just lounged around the house. It was kind of a cold day, but despite that, I kind of paired it with some little tank top that I had. And yeah, it's still today one of my favorite Delphine skirts, and one that I wear a lot, like just on the weekends, running around the house, going places and things like that.
So those are the Delphine skirts that I wore for the 1 week, 1 pattern challenge of 2018. But that is not the complete collection of my Delphine skirts. I actually have 2 more Delphine skirts that I forgot to mention at the start of the video. But I have a lovely one that I made in a cotton floral. I actually did a hack years ago, I think this was in 2014, 2015, where I hacked the Megan dress into a top and I paired it with a separate Delphine skirt. And with that, I didn't have quite enough fabric for the skirt that I used some red for a contrasting band around the end of it. I really love the floral cotton fabric of that skirt. It does not have any bells and whistles. It's cut pretty much as is the pattern. No pockets, no belt loops, nothing like that. It does have the invisible zip, but it is just a lovely skirt and works so well paired with the matching top or or could be worn by itself. The last Delphine skirt that I have in my collection is a green linen one. I made this back in 2016, I believe. I paired it with a matching bolero that I made sort of as a 1940s style summer suit that I put together, and I was really happy with the outcome. Again, it's a very simple skirt. I don't have any pockets in that one, but I did add the belt loops to it so that I could be worn with a belt. It's a lovely green linen. I did line this particular skirt with a yellow cotton, and I get a lot of wear out of it during the summer, and it's just another fun Delphine skirt.
I hope you've enjoyed my collection of Delphine skirts, and I can guarantee to you that these are not the last of the Delphine skirts. As I said earlier, some of them are getting a little loose, so I'll probably need to either make some adjustments to them or make some more Delphine skirts. It's a quick and easy pattern. It takes very little fabric, so if I have a good weighted fabric that I would know that would make a good skirt and I only have a little bit, the Delphine is my go-to pattern. In fact, I keep it always in my sewing room on hand if I ever have the opportunity to whip one of these up. Overall, I'm really happy with all the ones I've made. It is probably my all-time favorite skirt pattern, coming in at number 1. Number 2, you probably have already guessed, is Simplicity 8019, which is the button-down skirt from the 1970s. But this one, again, has more of a 60s feel. It's a little bit shorter. It's a little bit more fun and frilly. So, again, this is my go-to skirt pattern. I'd love to hear in the comments below if you participated in the 1 week, 1 pattern challenge and what all you made. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Akram's Ideas, and thanks for watching.
So it's not too figure hugging. It's got a nice, you know, A-line to blah, 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 blah. Even though it's very nautical, it wasn't themey or